Anderson referred to himself as feeling like the modern-day Jackie Robinson trying to bring swag back to the game. And whenever this happens in sports, and there's some sort of dichotomy, or there can be even an ounce of some sort of nefarious or racist category, they run with it. Stephen A. Smith went on ESPN today and said, you know what? Major League Baseball has 7.2% black players. And that's something that's really bad, and they should be worried about it, and this, that, and the other. But I never hear Stephen A. or any of these people that talk about how racist sports are ever say, well, if that's the case, the NBA has less than 5% Latino, Hispanic, and Asian players. Why are they discriminated against? Why are there only 15% white players in the NBA? You never hear it because it's a double standard. And it's stupid and it's soft to me. It doesn't make any sense. You referred to yourself as a modern-day Jackie Robinson, and then you get upset when somebody calls you Jackie in a joking manner? That, to me, how soft are we as a society? Yeah. That now this is it's so racist and terrible that now all of Major League Baseball is racist. Donaldson's are racist. It's just amazing to me how in the country we live in, and you know me, I'm not going down the political aspect of this because it's absolutely ridiculous and it'll continue to grow and grow. It is just amazing that certain people, because you look a certain way, can say certain things and get away with it. If I went out there and went on a campaign to have more white players play in the NBA, or even Latino players, I would get drug up and down as a racist, as an elitist, and all that stuff. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. Give him a suspension because the bench is cleared. Give him a suspension because of something happened, not because of some stupid narrative that the mainstream media in sports always grabs a hold of so they can sit on their high horse and tell everybody how terrible of people they are and how terrible the people that run sports are.
Well, you are an elitist, and I think Tim Brando helped a season ago. But back to this matter, it seems like in society the last few years, intent is no longer relevant.
No, it's not relevant at all.
This. Now, in what other area of life is that the case? Because, you know, if I were to hit you with my car on accident versus on purpose, my punishment legally would be different, right? Let's just take Major League Baseball. If I hit you with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball accidentally versus on purpose, the benches would treat that a lot differently, right? So I don't know Josh Donaldson's intent here. But what I'm wondering is, does Major League Baseball? Because if an investigation happened and you found racist intent, then why only one game? Seems like the suspension would be longer than that. If you did an investigation and you found that there was no racist motivation behind calling Tim Anderson Jackie, then why a suspension at all? Now, I don't know these guys, but I know if Josh Donaldson was quoted by a sports magazine as saying, I'm the modern day Babe Ruth, I'm sure his peers would have something to say about it when he legs out a double. Now, as far as Tim Anderson, you know, if you see yourself as the modern day Jackie Robinson, fighting prejudice on all fronts, then you're going to see everything in your life through the lens of prejudice. And I think this is an example of that.
Well, Blaine, when I'm looking at it, what Jackie Robinson did for not only baseball, but sports in general, it's very hard to compare in any aspect that has to do with sports outside of the first African-American player in certain leagues and stuff like that. The stuff that Jackie Robinson had to go through, and I'm not saying that Tim Anderson has always had it great. I'm not saying that Tim Anderson is somebody that sits on a high horse. I think this narrative took hold, and Tony La Russa calls Josh Donaldson a racist. Well, Tony, the era you came from, buddy, was a little bit different. And if I was you, I would worry about not getting drunk and getting behind the wheel of a car as opposed to judging other people, because you're lucky you're supposed to be a head coach. But that's the thing nowadays. You say one, and what Josh Donaldson, it would have been totally different if Josh Donaldson would have used a racial slur. That's totally different. That's out of bounds. Not even close. But to get upset because somebody called you what you referred to yourself as absolutely blows my mind and shows me where we are. And everybody's going to run with the Stephen A. Smiths and everybody that gets on there and cries about how bad they have it. All right, Stephen A., let's do it equal then. The NBA, the sport you love, the sport you cover, the sport you be bloviating that, all that stuff. Why don't you call them out on it? Why don't you call them out on anything that has to do with it? No, you're going to go to a certain segment of people, whether it be in the NFL. They're all racist, right? That's what I say. Oh, the NFL owners, they're all racist because they won't hire certain people, but yet the league is 80% a certain color. I guess Major League Baseball doesn't, these owners and these GMs don't want the best players on their team because of the way that they look. That is such a stupid, ridiculous argument. If you're good enough to do it, the reason baseball doesn't have a ton of African Americans in it, it's because of, number one, baseball's a very expensive sport when you're younger. It's a very, very expensive sport to get in, just like hockey is, just like some other sports is. There are more reasons outside of Major League Baseball is inherently racist, which Major League Baseball with Play 60 and doing all this stuff has done a ton to combat it. But you either hit the ball well enough to play, field the ball well enough to play, pitch the ball well enough to play, catch the ball well enough to play. It doesn't matter what you look like. If you're good enough, you're going to play. We have got to get out of this absolute soft victimhood mindset in sports because it's killing it. It's killing sports. You guys, Stephen A., talking about stupid stuff like this and calling people racist for no reason. You've watered down the term and you're ruining sports. So from everybody that loves sports growing up the way it was, stop it. Stop it. Please, just stop. If something racist happens, then we'll call it out. This isn't a racist thing for Major League Baseball. I'm so sick of you guys thinking that you're so morally superior to everybody because you go on ESPN and spew your BS down people's throat. You're the reason I made this show. You're the reason we're here. And I'm sick of it. Grow up. Be tougher. Blows my mind.
Well, boys, good to be back in studio. Good to be back. Did well in the golf tournament. I like that. The thing with me is this is petty to me. This is petty. One, if I'm going to look at it, I look at the history between these two guys. If you've already joked about this between one another, all right, to where it's funny, there's no racism about it, because if you've already done this before, this would have came out a lot sooner than what it came out on the field. Because that just doesn't make sense to me, because you joked about it. Like, you talked about it before in person, if it's not a problem then, but it's a problem now. And I kind of look at Josh Donaldson's reaction to all this. He didn't run. He didn't go running high in the locker room where no one can find him or anything like that. He went straight to the media and completely explained the situation. You know, and to me, like, I look at it and there's no way I can look at this and say that Josh Donaldson is a racist. One, you called yourself Jackie Robinson. All right, one, you're not Jackie Robinson.
You're not Jackie
There's
Robinson.
one Jackie Robinson. There'll always be one Jackie Robinson. And two, just the reaction of everything really didn't make sense to me. If it's not a problem then, it can't be a problem now, just because you want to base it on the way society is. Society right now is if you do one wrong thing that can't even be wrong, you will be deemed a racist. And it's sad.
So what were the details before when they joked about it? What was
well,
the
apparently they've talked about this. Like, they've talked about
Josh
this.
Donaldson and Anderson.
Yeah, when he was in Atlanta. Yeah, they've talked about this. They've joked about this before. So I don't understand in what way he could have said that. One is, I mean, to me, if you get called Jackie Robinson, that's not really an insult. He's a pretty good baseball player and a pretty good person. And two, it's just, you've done this before. It doesn't make sense. Why would it be a problem now?
It's an opportunity.
What changed?
That's what happened. It's an opportunity to demonize somebody for something like you said. You don't know the intent. Was Josh Donaldson making fun of him probably when they were talking trash? Yes. But if that's the worst thing, if you've ever played a sport or you've ever been in some sort of competitive aspect of life where you're talking with somebody else in the heat of the moment, and that doesn't even begin. And I'm not talking about racist stuff. I'm just talking about talking trash in general. That doesn't even begin to touch the tip of the iceberg that's connected to the ice sheet, that's connected to the continent of ice, of trash talk that goes on. Hey, everybody, if you like what you're hearing, go ahead and ring that bell. We're excited to be here. It's Crain and Company live 2 to 3 Central daily. Ring that bell. I want to hear it from coast to coast.